system is gone. So
Yeah.
so focusing in on this historical change, but thinking about how people are now going to have to know and walk with God differently because of that change. Could you maybe put a fine point on the demands of somebody who is with Jesus in that area at that time in that city? Was this something that they could even think through? Was this something that, like, how, what would that be like for us? Would
Yeah.
that be, what would be an analogy?
Well, it's a great question because they probably couldn't think through it, and that may be one of John's points, writing 30 or writing 25 to 50 years later.
Right.
That, hey, look at what they were caught in. Look at the
They
transition.
couldn't have anticipated, couldn't have seen it.
And here is Jesus
on what they
standing
had.
in the middle of them,
Right.
standing in the middle of the circle, and saying, "My Father and I are one." Don't look for God's work any other place. Don't look for it in this magnificent
Right.
temple. Don't look for it in your history. Don't look
Right.
for it in your church calendar. Don't
Right.
look for it in your celebration. There's no distance between the Father and Jesus. They are one. And so what the gospel writer John is saying is, the only way for them to get through this transition successfully is to put Jesus at the center,
Right.
and to look at him, because he was going to be the pivotal transition. And he knew what life's going to be like afterward. No one else did. Not even the apostles standing there knew what it was going to be like.
Right. This isn't a historical change where everyone, whatever's next, everyone's going to be a part of it. Everyone's going to keep moving forward with the progress of history. This is a decisive moment where people will make a decision, where that room that you talked about before is going to be kind of collapsed. I and the Father are one, verse 30. There's no space anymore. So there's not going to be any space to say, well, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with Jesus. I just want to know the Father, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's not going to be any of that room for those who want to genuinely move forward with the Lord.
So I have a lot of old white friends today, and they will say things to me like, "I'm a Republican," and it's scary times for me, but I'm a Republican, and I know I'm going to be okay. I'm just going to stay that way. And what the parallel here is that we shouldn't be saying I'm a Republican or a Presbyterian or anything. We should be saying I'm following Jesus, because and that centrally, not just as a tag on.
Yeah.
Because the way things are going to change, we can't see right now.
Right.
We don't know what's going to unravel in our culture and what's not. It's changing in a seismic shift right now. And the way you go through transition is not through culture war. You don't say, "Oh, I'm gonna have some culture wars here, and I'll get everybody on the side of God,
Defend the
and
temple,
America."
defend the system,
Right.
defend whatever the platform has been that's kept your routines going.
Yeah, and the problem is because you can't close the space between God and that culture war. God is not in the culture war. God is in Jesus, taking us through to be His sheep.
Right.
And he's not a Republican. He's not a Democrat. He's not. You can't look at things that Republicans or your favorite party is doing and say, well, this is progress for God, because along with anything you'd look at and say that's good, you'd look at things that are bad. I mean, children in cages, COVID denial. There's got to be space there between God and those things, because God's not in those things. So I just say to my old white friends don't say you're a Republican right now. Just renounce that.
Right.
It may have got you up to now,
Right.
but if you're going to have a credibility and a witness in whatever our culture is changing to, you're going to have to follow Jesus right now. And this can't come to war between God, Republican, and there's no room in there for
Right.
Republican or Presbyterian or anything else.
Right. Pharisee or whatever, right? It could be a religious designation. You're saying we have to let go of those identities because we don't know how to get through.
Right.
We don't know, and that means there's not going to be some previous form or routine or ritual or identification outside of clinging to Jesus that will get us through, right? Because it's that dramatic of a time of
Yes.
change.
But we'll be offered a culture war. We'll be offered
Sure,
a culture war to say, here, you want to do the best you can, fight this war
Right.
for us. And
Yeah, and it's a safe place. It feels familiar.
Feels safe.
It feels like, okay, I know how to hold on to something here. I know where some of these battle lines are. I have something to do, right? It is very tempting. But you're saying part of that major disruption the Lord is allowing and causing is to let all those things go, including the religious, denominational, whatever they are,
Yeah.
to just follow Jesus, to just follow the Good Shepherd. That's the only thing that will get you through.
yeah, and the relationship that you have with him during that time will make you his sheep,
Right.
and he will care for you.
Right.
And that's the nature of the historical transition. That's why this text has a lot of lessons for us
Yeah.
going through historical transition.
Yeah, we don't need to drum up the preacherly thing. This is as dramatic a time of transition as we could have imagined.
For sure, and beyond.